on the 26th of April. You are all very welcome, and hopefully you will be joining us from home, some of you, and you're welcome as well. Can I begin this morning's meeting with apologies for absence, please? Do we have any? Everyone's here. Thank you.
Actually, Councillor Seymour.
Thank you. Councillor Seymour isn't here. Gives her apologies as a Deputy Cabinet Member. The disclosure of members' interest. Any interest to declare? Guy Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. I have an interest in item 3, so we'll leave the room for that.
Thank you. Any others? No? Okay. Thank you very much. So now we move on to the main business of the day, which is around the outline business case for the replacement school buildings for Ashley High and Whitrig Middle Schools in Seaton Valley. This is a hugely important step in this programme. I feel that the parents and residents of Seaton Valley have been hugely patient and kind to us as council in being given the amount of time it's taken to get to this step. And I'm really pleased that we are getting on with this. I know that this administration has made this very much a priority, which is why we are taking this in the first year of our administration. And it's going to be a fantastic new facility for the pupils and the whole community there, and for Northumberland as a whole. So what I'm going to do is ask Sue Aviston to give us a quick update. What I would say is that we will underline this as we go through, but we've had a very full consultation, and we will continue to keep talking to local people as we move forward with this, because it's very important that we understand as many of the issues as we can that people raise. We will never get a system that everyone is happy with, we know that, but what we want to do is end up with a first-class facility that the vast majority of people are fully behind, and that's what I think we're going to get. Sue.
Thank you, Leader. Could I have the presentation up, please? And move on to the first slide. Thank you. Just felt this morning it's probably better to show images that they obviously tell 1,000 words. So I'll just run through a short presentation that will show you the options and the journey that we've actually been on to develop the outline business case that's put in front of you for approval this morning. So really, in terms of background, really just to remind Cabinet members that unlike neighbouring authority, Northumberland has never benefited from being part of any government-funded large-scale building replacement programme, as other neighbouring authorities to Northumberland have. There have been some successes, however, though, with 3 of our high schools forming part of the first 2 phases of the priority building school programme, and they were completed a number of years ago. However, therefore predominantly remains the responsibility of the council to fund its own capital investment in the school estate, and in recognition of this, the responsibility Cabinet has set aside over £100 million to invest in new and improved buildings in its medium-term financial plan, with £40 million of this being allocated to the scheme in front of you today for Astley and Whitrig. Astley High School and Whitrig Middle School buildings are in the greatest need for replacement when compared to the rest of the local authority maintained school estate, with over £15.7 million worth of backlog maintenance repairs to be undertaken. The investment in the school buildings has been in the medium-term financial plan since 2016, with the project programme to start in 2019-20. However, due to the COVID pandemic, this did delay progress on the project, as the Leader has already pointed out. Cabinet will also remember that informal consultation did take place during October and December of last year to determine the support on the proposal from the Seaton Valley Federated governing body on the amalgamation of Seaton Sluice and Whitrig Middle Schools. This proposal, however, was not progressed at the time. And as a result of the consultation, the scope of the development of the outline business case for capital investment has now been defined and is limited to the provision of new school buildings for both Astley High School and Whitrig Middle School on a shared site with shared facilities. Could I have the next slide, please? As you'll be aware, developing a development of this scale brings many challenges with it. Particularly in this case, there have been many challenges in finding a suitably sized site for the two schools within their existing catchment areas, with a minimum size site required of just over 120,000 square metres. As with any school redevelopment, and you'll be aware of the numbers that we've done in the past, the existing school site would always be assessed for its suitability. However, in this case, the school site is vastly undersized to meet the current guidance required from both the DfE and Sport England, with the current site being undersized by nearly 13,000 square metres, which is the equivalent to two 11-a-side football pitches. So therefore, a number of green belt sites have been assessed for use as part of the site option appraisal. Could I have the next slide, please? As you can see from the slide in front of you, we looked at 8 different site options in developing the outline business case, 6 of which were discounted for various reasons, as you can see there. Predominantly a lot of historical mining and quarry work in the area determined a number of the sites being unusable, as well as a number of them being undersized. There were also some restrictions around pylons and the impact that would have on using individual sites. Therefore, as a result of that assessment by our independent surveyors, we have moved forward in the business case with 2 sites, and that is looking at an option on the current Astley site, as well as a site in the Greenbelt known as the Avenue site, and is shown as a pink star on the plan in front of you. Can I have the next slide, please? So, after carrying out the site option appraisal process, 2 sites have been proved feasible. So again, that's the current site on Elsdon Avenue, but again, because of it being undersized, that would require some additional off-site sports provision, and I'll come on to that in the following slides, as well as the Avenue site. We also undertook a review of doing nothing as an option. Obviously, again, detailed in the outline business case, the reason why that wouldn't be a sensible approach, given the concerns we have around the current school buildings. Also, option 2 was to look at the backlog maintenance. That was only addressing the issues that the school currently has. But because of the construction of the school, the level of asbestos in it, what it would mean is to just address the backlog maintenance would mean that we'd need a whole new school, a temporary school, while we carried out the construction works. So therefore, that hasn't scored very highly in the option appraisal. Then the remaining 4 options look at new build options, and I'll come on to those in a little bit more detail in the following slides. Can I have the next slide, please? So option 3 is the option to look to re-provide new school buildings on the Elsdon Avenue site. But as I've said, we would need to look at some off-site sports provision. So again, using part of the Avenue site to provide some off-site playing fields. So this option has been developed in order to address the shortfall in the on-site provision. However, this option does bring many disadvantages to the operation of the school in terms of safeguarding and the impact on curriculum time, as the children and young people would have to travel on foot to the off-site playing pitches for their PE lessons. And this option also wasn't supported by the school because of the impact that it would have both on safeguarding as well as curriculum time. Could we have the next slide, please? Option 4 is the first of the options that look to use the Avenue site, and this would bring together all of the school's accommodation, all of the playing fields and all of the parking together, but would rely on an access point being able to be gained off the Avenue site. However, that has proved difficult for us to negotiate and agree, as the land is currently in the ownership of the National Trust. So we have spent the last 3 years discussing options to be able to give us a wide enough access point actually onto site off the Avenue, but that hasn't been successful up until this point. Therefore, we have looked at other options, bringing alternative access points and parking arrangements in the following options. What you will notice on this option is that it does show an access point for service vehicles, so any refuge collection could also be delivered off this access point. Move on to option 5, please. So option 5 is the option using the Avenue site, but putting predominantly the vast majority of the parking off-site. So we call this the Avenue Park and Stride option. There are many advantages to this. It limits the access off Prospect Avenue actually onto the school site, with drop-off for the 3 buses currently used to bring pupils to the school site, as well as very limited parking for DDA, as well as providing drop-off for teachers to be able to drop off some of their resources before leaving site and actually parking off-site. The off-site parking will introduce some parental pick-up and drop-off opportunities that aren't currently available on the Elsdon Avenue site, and do give concern to local residents there. Also, this option would give the opportunity to provide additional parking for evenings and for weekends, both to support the local shops, as well as potential overflow car park for the new station that would be opening in the Seaton Delaval area. So again, this option brings greater community benefit in terms of not just providing the school, but giving not only additional sports pitches, the re-provision of the new swimming pool, but also provide some community parking for other services that the council and private businesses operate in the area. Could we move on to option 6, please? So option 6 is a little bit more of a hybrid option. It brings more car parking onto the site to address some of the concerns raised by the staff and the number of resources that they actually need to carry on site. So this current drawing shows a parking space available for every full-time member of staff working on site, therefore limiting the transport or car movements each day. Staff would come in, park up, and then they wouldn't leave until the end of the day, so limiting the amount of vehicle movement, but still having the off-site parking to bring around, the benefits that I've already identified under option 5. Again, another advantage is that both with options 5 and 6, it precludes the use of the land in the ownership of the National Trust, which means that the schools could be operating from their new site and new buildings from April 2025. So again, this is known as the preferred option within the business case, that we felt providing some on-site parking as well as off-site parking, but with an access point that we could actually provide in order to progress the project. Could we move on to the next slide, please? So, as the leader has already pointed out, there has been a number of meetings and consultations have taken place as part of the development of the outline business case options. We have consulted with NCC planners, the Local Authority Highway Development Team, Sport England, Historic England, because of the historic interest of the Avenue site and its link to Delaval Hall. We have also been meeting with the National Trust, again, as landowners, to be able to provide the right access for us with option 4. Again, that hasn't obviously been able to come to a conclusion in a timely manner, hence recommending option 6 as the preferred option. We've also been in ongoing discussion with Hastings Estates, who are the landowners of the Avenue site, in order to secure a long-term lease and agree heads of terms for the site, in order that we can develop the preferred option. The Avenue site, however, is situated in Greenbelt, as I've already pointed out, and would therefore require a very special circumstances case to be presented to support the proposal. This should clearly evidence the benefits that the school would bring when balanced against the harm of the Greenbelt and the loss of openness. These benefits were discussed with NCC planning officers, and from a planning perspective, their initial view was that very special circumstances would outweigh the harm to the Greenbelt and development on the Avenue site, and therefore it could be supported at the next stage. We've also carried out consultation events on the options in the outline business case that have taken place with local elected members, the governing body of the school and other schools, staff, other head teachers in the partnership, the Seaton Valley Community Council, parents and members of the public. They were asked to make comments on each of the options identified and what they liked about each of the options, and also what they felt could be improved or what improvements could be made to each of the options. The feedback from these events will be used at the next stage of detailed design in order that we can mitigate the concerns raised with the preferred option. So in conclusion, the need to improve buildings of the Astley High School and Whittrigg Middle School had already been identified as a priority for the Council as far back as 2016. Following a series of delays in developing proposals for the new school buildings, it has now been possible to complete the work on the outline business case that now sets out in detail the deliverability and the affordability of the scheme within the Council's resources. The project will deliver added benefits for enhanced community use in the evenings and weekends, with all indoor sporting facilities from fitness studios and swimming pool, and all outdoor facilities, including the 3G pitch, 3G football/rugby pitch. The new buildings would also be the first zero-carbon school in the county, and will ensure that the running costs of the building are kept to a minimum, therefore enabling more funding to be spent on teaching and learning. And as has already been pointed out, as with any proposal for change, not everyone will support it, especially when it involves relocating a school from its current site. However, in this case, there is a clear body of support from the vast majority of those that attended recent consultation events on the options, and that new school buildings for Astley and Whittrigg are indeed needed. And the majority also favoured 2 of the 3 options shown on the Avenue site, whilst there were very little support for development on the existing site with off-site playing fields. Officers are therefore recommending to Cabinet to approve the outline business case to allow the project to progress with option 6 as the preferred option to detailed design, procurement and submission of a planning application for the project. The outcomes of the procurement exercise will be reported back to Cabinet in the form of a final business case in order to seek final approval for the award of contract in April 2023. Thank you.
Sue, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. And as you can see, Sue and her team have done a huge amount of work to get this to where we are today in a short time. And I'm extremely grateful to you, Sue, and for the team for doing all of this work. As I said at the beginning, we will never find a scheme that will suit everyone. But I think that from my point of view, and I think probably from Cabinet's as well, we'll see in a minute, that we want to see this recommendation go through. This isn't, of course, the only school that we're going to build in our administration and move forward with that. We're looking also very carefully at Berwick and also at Amble. This is the one that we're doing now, and so I'm very pleased indeed to ask any members of Cabinet for their views or thoughts. Jeff Watson.
I wondered, if you can just clarify to me. I see on the document current A that we're saying to approve the outline business case seeks to confirm the estimate of 37 million, but then the recommendation talks about 40 million. Now I understand why, because I've read the report and it says this, but it seems strange that we're trying to approve 37 in one bit and then 40 million in the other bit. So can you explain to me what exactly it is that we're trying to approve today?
Yes, it will be the 40 million, although the outline business case proves that the scheme in front of you can be delivered for just over the 37 million. Recommendations from officers are that we still allocate the 40 million in the medium-term financial plan until we come back with the outcomes of the final business case and the procurement process. Given the current market and where things are moving, it makes sense to leave the full allocation in place until we've done a full market test with the detailed designs as we move forward. So we are asking you to approve the £40 million to remain in the medium-term financial plan until the final business case comes back to Cabinet in April next year.
Thank you, Sue. Is that okay? Yep. John Riddle.
Yeah,
access and National Trust. Is it to do with sightlines and planning, or is it to do with, could we compulsory purchase if need be? You know, I mean, you know, surely we've got some other tools in the box that we could use if necessary.
Yes, obviously we have been trying to negotiate and do it in a more friendly way, shall we say. But yes, the issues are about sight lines. In order, currently the current landowner has an 8-metre width access point for tractors to be able to farm the current field. What we would require for the level of traffic, you know, particularly the buses dropping off, would need to double that width, and we would need just over 16 metres for the road width as well as footpaths on either side. And it's been that extra 8 metres that we have been negotiating. We have sought legal advice about compulsory purchase, but I think we felt at this point we didn't want to go down that route. Again, it's not a quick route.
No.
It is something that would take many years to achieve, and therefore we felt what we needed to do was to bring a deliverable option in front of Cabinet, while not precluding potentially continuing to negotiate to see whether an additional access or alternative access could be provided in the future.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, is that okay? Anyone else? Richard Wearmouth.
Thank you, Leader. So, again, just to say thank you. I know it's been a long time in the making sure that we've got this right, going through all of the consultations, making sure that we've got a project that reflects what people want locally as well. So, well done for that. I think, just commenting on taking this site forward, there's just to emphasise, in case people have missed it watching the YouTube channel at home, or you know, that it's definitely worthy of note that there isn't a planning application yet. There's lots of stages where people can still feed in comments in terms of layouts, in terms of orientations of buildings, of landscaping, of how we make sure that we get this absolutely right so that it fits perfectly into the community and becomes a cherished asset by the community, and in particular by pupils and parents long into the future. I think that's just important to stress. It's a great project, and it will be optimised through consultation with local people as we go forward. Thank you.
Yes, that's very much what we want to see, and I'm sure we will see that. Anyone else? No? Okay. Any comments from any officers? Anything further? Okay then, well, can we go to the recommendations, which are before you, 1, 2 and 3. Is there a proposer for those recommendations? Proposed by Councillor Watson and seconded by Councillor Patterson. Could you please show if you are in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much again, Sue, and we really do look forward to seeing this development taking place. And as Richard Wearmouth says, it is very important that we continue to engage with local people, because we want them to be proud of this fantastic development for themselves, for their children, and for their community, and for the county. So it's great news, and I'm very pleased and excited, and thank you again. Okay. So now we move on to the second agenda item, which is number B, which is around adopting a new agreed syllabus for religious education. And I'm going to ask Guy Renner-Thompson to give a quick overview of this, and then I'll ask Kath McAvoy-Carr to present the report.
Thank you, Leader. I am, as well as being Portfolio for Children's Services, Chairman of the Special Advisory Committee on Religious Education, and we've got Councillor Bowman here, who also sits on that committee. By law, a local authority has to have a syllabus for RE. The standing committee were given a few options on where we could go forward, because we need to select a new one by 2022. We chose the one that gives the local authority flexibility within the syllabus to remodel some of the modules so we could have a more local slant on it. So we had the options to buy a new one off the shelf, create our own new one from scratch, which we realised we didn't have time to do, or buy one that's gives us the ability to change it a bit. We've done that so that the SACRE and local schools could incorporate a bit of local religious history, which we know there is a lot of with Cuthbert and Bede and Hadrian and so on. So really, we're just presenting that to the Cabinet for formal approval.
Thank you very much. Kath.
Not really very much more to add from Councillor Renner-Thompson, just to say that we are assured that the proposed syllabus meets the legal requirements and is suitable for Northumberland schools in relation to providing high standards in religious education. The syllabus, if agreed, will be rolled out in terms of training for our teachers in June 2022, and schools will begin adopting that new agreed syllabus again, if agreed, from September of this year, with full adoption expected from September 2023.
Thank you very much. Obviously, a very important report. And I think I'm right in saying that this new syllabus will highlight the importance of Northumberland in terms of religious history. Perhaps you could just give us a quick update on that, Guy.
It gives the option for the SACRE, which is the committee, to write the modules that would include Northumbrian religious history. We're not at that point yet because it's going to take a bit of time to do that, but there are sort of stock modules that the schools can go and use straight away. But this at least gives us the option to then add a bit more of Northumbrian history into the syllabus.
Thank you very much, and I hope very much that will happen, because it's we have a very rich Christian history in Northumberland. Jeff Watson.
Very good. I like it. It's grand. I'm just wondering the implications on the school's library service, if there are any. Will the new syllabus mean schools need new books, and will we have the funding coming out of the library service, or does it come somewhere else? I don't know the answer to it. That's why I'm asking the question. Does anybody know?
I can. From the material I've seen for the teachers to use, it's not books in the traditional sense. They get sent documents online, PDFs that they can then print out. It's not like having books in a library that you have to refer back to all the time. So teaching material can be updated all the time now, not like in years gone by.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else on this report? No. Okay. So we've got some recommendations, 1, 2, and 3, which is around formally adopting the approved locally agreed syllabus. Is there a proposer for that? These recommendations proposed by Guy Renner-Thompson, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Are you all in favour? Could you please show? That's absolutely unanimous. That's good news, so thank you very much indeed for that. I don't have any urgent business other than to say thank you very much indeed for joining us, and look forward to the next Cabinet meeting in May. Thank you very much.